Okay, so how was the reading week? Did you read a lot? So was it a good idea to keep midterm after reading week? Is it still a good idea? I just want to make sure that this was a good decision for everybody involved. Was it? Good idea? Okay. Okay, so today here's what we're going to be doing. And pretty much everybody uploaded questions, which was great. Great to have questions about bonus 8. Bonus 8 is about an exercise that will help you for midterm this coming Friday. Okay? So what we're going to be doing today is I'll be going through this exercise step by step. You can ask me questions as I go along. Depending on how long this will take, if we still have time, which I'm hoping that we do, then I can open the questions that have been submitted, and I can go through them. Okay? So I made sure that I downloaded up front the questions, and I'm going to open them, but if you have identified yourselves, I have removed your name, so you won't be able to identify yourselves, but you will know which questions are yours. Okay? So before I get the exercise started here, because again, this will take a lot of our time today, is there any questions that you want to clarify about anything? And again, a lot will be clarified hopefully as I go through the exercise, but is there anything that you want to ask before I start to move forward? By the way, Padlet is open there, so you can also use our Padlet. Okay, just close this a little bit here. Anything before I start the demonstration? Anything? Okay, so that's codes. So let's read through it. Let's understand what's been asked. And again, I'll step through the code step by step here. Okay, so your website is a registration tool for adding patients to a medical system. Registered patients will be held in a repository. This is an in-memory repository. You don't need to store that in the database, okay? So we can do a very simple repository. After registering the patient, display a thank you view stating patient, this is the name of the patient, has been successfully registered as occupation. This should be replaced by the occupation of the patient. On date and time, there's one property here for the patient model that will be the date and time of registration. So we can use to replace. So the things in bold will get replaced with dynamic information. Okay? The bold elements are dynamic. That's what this means. Okay? They'll be replaced by the information that we fill out in the form. Your site will include navigation for return to the registration page. So what I would recommend is that you have one view for the home, which will be your base, and then you have a link to list and a link to ads. Okay? The patient list will consist of a list of all information about the patient. So again, whatever is being displayed, whatever we are storing in the model, we're going to be displaying in the list. Okay? All shared elements on a page should be contained in a layout file. So we're going to get the common elements and move to a layout file. We'll also be using a single CSS. Can you use Bootstrap? Yes, you can. But also on top of Bootstrap, put your own CSS just in case you need to do some custom CSS there. Okay? Actually, I think I'm using Bootstrap as well here. Okay, each page should follow the same design, sharing a common look and feel. That's the idea of having a layout. You have common elements there, so they will be sharing the same look and feel. Okay? Functionality, the details here. So, create a ASP.NET Core 2.1 MVC project using templates. So let's get that started. Okay, so I'm going to go to Visual Studio here. I'm going to go File, New Project. And then .NET Core, ASP.NET Core Web Application. I'm going to call this, just to make it different from the one that I have here, I'm going to call this patients. Just going to call that, okay? I'm going to select an empty template. Make sure that you have 2.1 selected at the top, okay? The core version. Configure for HTTPS, uncheck that box so you don't have any problems running the application, because this may give some headaches. So uncheck that one, confirm. And then we have our basic structure here. So one of the things that you could do is you could follow those clue cards that we had in one of the previous classes. So that will help you to put the building blocks here in place. But I'm not going to follow that. I'm just gonna move and get things settled as I go along. So what should I do next? Who can tell me what should I do next to get ready here? Let's create the folders, okay? So let's create how many folders? 3 folders. So let's create them. So MVC, models. We're going to have views. And then we're going to have controllers. Great. So we have the folders there. How about we try to settle down our startup? Okay? So let's have a look at our startup. There are a few minor things that we need to adjust here. Under configure service, what should we do here? Services dot add MVC. That's pretty much it here. And then in the configure section, what should we get rid of? Get rid of this, okay? Let's get rid of this, and then let's add what? The default one. So again, even for the midterm, most likely you're going to just use the default one, not going to use any complex routing rules, okay? So we're going to go here and app.use defaults, use MVC. If you don't remember the whole thing, if you just type default, it will filter that for you. I don't remember this whole thing. So that's the routing. And then there is something else that we should also take care of already here, just to make sure that our www root folder will be available. So let's add the app.static use static files. And as far as this little application goes, this should be pretty much enough for us to have it running. Okay? Any questions here? Okay, great. So we have our basic plumbing in place. Then what? What should I do next? Let's take care of our controllers here. So let's take care of our home controller. So in the controllers folder, I'm going to say add. I'm going to go for new item. My preference is going through new item. And then I'm going to go just to a regular class, and I'm going to call this home controller. Okay, great. So home controller needs to inherit from controller. So I'm just going to put it here, and it will complain that doesn't know what controller is. So I'm just going to go and select using Microsoft ASP.NET Core.MVC. So it goes up there. And then I'm gonna do what? I'm gonna create what now? In our controller. The first action, which is called, let's call the index action, okay? This could be the index can be our home page, our home view, okay? So let's create our index view. So public. So I'm gonna say that this returns a view result. called index, and this will return a view. And I'm just going to say like this, and of course it will, oh, actually, it's not complaining. So return a view, that's good. Okay, so let's start to get our views in place. Okay, how about we start to have a look at our views? So what should I do first in under our views folder? I'm going to create the folder for the home controller. So I'm going to go and say home. And then under home, I'm going to create our first view. Okay? I'm going to create this view here. So I'm going to go add new item. And I'm going to go for a razor view called index. That's okay. Let's leave it there. Great. So I'm going to get rid of everything here. Should our index, our home view, should it have a model associated with it? I'm not going to display anything in particular there. There will be some static HTML there, but I'm not going to get any dynamic piece of information there. Okay? So I'm going to leave our index view for now just plain. I'm not even going to add anything for now. Let's keep going with the building blocks here. Let's have a look at our functionality. So we have created our ASP.NET Core 2.1 MVC project using a template. Great, checked, done. Move on. Now let's create this class. Okay, the patient class. So where should I put it? Under models. So I'm just going to go there. We're going to add a class called patient. Regular class. For me, just to avoid typing field by field, property by property, I'm just going to copy from an existing one. So we can save a little bit of time there. And I'm just going to walk you through if there's anything here in particular. So we have name, which is a string, age, an integer, address, occupation, both strings, has insurance as a Boolean, had previous operation as a Boolean. If your property descriptions, if they vary from this, that's fine. I mean, that's okay to vary, that's fine. We have marital status as well. I'm setting it as an integer. So 1 will be married, 2 will be, and it goes like that, okay? It is okay string. A string is okay, but I can tell you that in a real system, this we would not be saving marital status with the string. We would be saving as integers, as numbers. So each number would be associated with 1.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be better to use like an enum.
It's even better to use an enumeration. It would be even better. So I would say it's okay with string. It's okay with an integer. It would be even better if this would be an enumeration, and you just list there. That would be great. And then we also have, as it says here on points, and the next point, see, create a patient model. That's what we did. Reflecting the collected information. That's what we're doing here. And the date and time that the patient was registered. Okay, so we have a registration date. You can call it something else. The type of that field is a date and time, because we're collecting not only the dates, but the time as well. Now, sorry, this is the other one. Now, the way you can initialize this is that you can already say that this is equals to datetime dot now. So what this is doing is that every time you create a new patient, this property here, registration date, gets already assigned the current date and time. Okay? That's it. You don't even need to worry about filling out that field, that property later in the code. This is just enough. I'm just initializing it. Okay? And I don't need to I will have to display it in the future, but I don't need to set it anymore. Because what this line is doing is, every time that we create a new patient, the property registration date is being set to the current date and time. Okay? Any questions about that?
Can I replace that in controller?
You can, not a problem. In the controller where you create the patient, yes, you can, okay? Okay, any question about the properties, any question about registration date? Registration date, it's not a field that you're going to be asking in the interface. It's just a field. It's just a property that will be there. Okay? Let's keep looking at this. So we have our model now. We have our registration date. Create a repository to store the registered patients. Now, you can create your iPatient repository with then any memory repository that would inherit from it, or you can go a little bit simpler, and I went for the simpler option without the interface. I went with a straight repository here, very similar to what you can find on the Parinvites example, okay? So I can just say, you know what, under models, I'm going to create a new class called repository. In this class, it will have a list. It will store a list of patients, okay? It will store, oh, let me just show it. So, here's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm using static here. The reason why I'm using static is just because, to be quite honest, I don't want to be creating a repository. I don't want to be instantiating a new repository. I just want to use one single repository for my entire application, okay? I don't want to be creating them all the time, so I can just say, hey, give me a static class and store the patients in a static class. You can only have static properties, static members. So I'm just initializing like that. You can initialize, this could be a dynamic class, but you'd have to instantiate an instance of repository to be able to use it. So if you do like this, just as a static class, you can just say repository dot whatever I want. Now, I'm setting the list of patients as a private property, okay? Again, in an object-oriented environment, we usually protect the data and we expose properties. That's what we're going to be doing with this as well. Patients is private, is internal. So we're going to expose the list of patients by using a property. So the property that we're going to be using, we're going to be creating public. I'm going to call this patient public. Let me see here. So again, we're going to be starting to use the enumeration here. So again, in a static class, all members are static. So I'm just creating a static property called patients of the type IEnumerable. Again, I could have used list here, but to expose the properties of patients, because we're going to be using link and other things, I would rather use an IEnumerable here. So we're just going to use here, it's a read-only property, and we're just going to have a get. Get will return the list of patients. So we're going to say return patients. Okay, great. So we have a place to store the patients. We have a place to expose the patient's information. We have this property. Now we need to have a method to do what? To add patients to this list, okay? So I'm going to have a public static as well, because this is a static class, public static. And then we're going to have add. And this add will receive a patient. And this will. So as a property. And then, sorry, this is a void, public void. It does. It doesn't return anything. So we're just going to say what? Patients dot add. Is that add? Oh, patients dot add. And then I'm going to say patient. So we have the list, we have how to display, and we have how to be able to add. Okay, that's the only thing that we need. Let's see if there is anything else here. Nope, that's about it. Well, you can call it add patient. That's fine either way. Okay, so we have our controller. Sorry, not our controller. We have our repository. Let's keep going here. Create a repository to store the patients. Great, we have done that. Create a patient list view. Okay, so let's do the list. Let's do that. Actually, you know what? Before we jump to the list, let's do the layout. Let's take care of doing the layout, okay? So layout, the layout file, where should it be located? In the shared folder. So we're going to create a shared folder under views. So shared. And then under shared, we're going to add, I'm going to go with new item, and I'm going to go with web, razor layout. I can keep just underscore layout. I'm not going to be using more than one layout. I can just keep the name. That's fine. Great. Okay, so the basic thing that, for now at least, that we're going to have in our layout is, let's have the navigation. Let's add the navigation. It's the most basic element there. Okay? So navigation, we have basically 3 places there. We're going to have our home. So I'm just going to do a very simple navigation here. I'm going to go a.asp dash action. Now, here's the thing. For me to use action, what is it that I'm missing here? The tag helper, okay? So we need to take care of our tag helper. So we have to create and add a new item. I'm going to go with ASP. That will be a view imports. Okay? A view imports, a razor view imports. You can keep the name underscore view imports. This is created directly under views. Okay? And here we have to make a reference to the big tag helper, which, to be quite honest, I don't remember on top of my head that whole thing. So I'll have a quick peek. So here is the directive. So we can use tag helper. So add tag helper, add tag helper, asterisk, comma, this whole blah, blah, blah. Again, you can just copy that. Don't worry about it. Okay, so now we should be able to go back to our layout and finish this using the tag helpers. So the first action here, I'm gonna put this as index. This is the home one. So I'm gonna just say home for this one. Do you have to add controller here? We could say ASP-controller equals to, this is home controller. However, because actually, you know what, we may have to, because we're using layout. Not sure. Just in case, I'm going to keep controller in action as well. You can try without one of those, but keep both of them. Just make sure that it knows that's the home controller and the action is the index action, okay? Now, I'm going to do the other two. So we're going to have an add. I'll call it, let's see here. How did I call it here? Well, I call it registered. That's, I mean, again, this is not, I'm going to call it registered. I just want to keep consistent with the example that I have already put together. So I'm going to call this register, and I'm going to call register new patient. And then we have a list as well to list all of them. Sorry. I'm just putting this pipe just to separate one from the other one, that's it. And then our third one is the list. So I'm just going to say list of patients. Okay, so for now I'm going to keep just like that. We're gonna enhance. Actually, let's already take care of that. Let's use our CSS here. Oh, yep.
Does it always have to have the controller for each entity?
Try, in a more complex application, yes, have it. I'm not sure about this though, because this is a layout, it's outside of the folder. I would keep it, yeah, it won't hurt if you keep it. Actually, it will just improve things if you keep it there. You can try without that, but again, I'll keep it just to make sure that it knows which controller, because right now we are using shared folder, not the home folder here. So I have my second thoughts as to whether or not it will recognize home automatically. So just in case, I'll keep the controller here as well, the property. Let's take care of two things already here. Let's add one image, and let's add the CSS as well, okay? Image, because again, I just want to make sure that you know how to add an image. And CSS, because I also would like to ensure that you know how to add a CSS. So in our www root folder, let's create two folders there. One called CSS, another one called images. In our CSS, let's create a new CSS here, new item. I'm gonna just create a CSS. Where is it? Content. Okay, style sheets. You can just call it, you can keep style sheets. I'm gonna just call it styles.css. For now, I'll enhance this a little bit later, but for now, I just want to keep the file, make a reference in the layout. So in the layout, I can say link, hell, and this is a style sheet, and I will add the path to it, href, CSS, and then styles. Just to avoid complications, I would recommend to get rid of this tilde at the end, but that should be, yeah, that's it. So we have our CSS there. Let's just, I have a logo here that I just want to add to show as an example. I'm going to reuse that. I'm going to copy this image, and I'm going to add that here. Let's see if there's a paste. Okay, so I'm just going to see if I can paste this. Nope. I'm just getting to this image here. Again, you can add any image you want. I'm just adding this one here to the folder. Okay, so again, I could very much just do this, img src equals to images / patient. I'm also going to take care of removing it from here. And that's okay. Again, I'm not looking for beauty here. I'm looking for, can you add the CSS? Can you add the image? I can beautify this afterwards if we have time, but I'm not going to beautify anything at this point in time. Okay, so our layout is in place. Now, we have our layout. We need to take care of calling this layout from of saying that our views are using this layout. So how should I do that with the index? How can I say that, hey index, use that layout? So I need to add a block, isn't it? I need to add a block here, a razor code block, and I need to call what? So layout equals to underscore layout. Okay, so that's one. And the other thing that I'm going to do, because our layout, it's using the title at the top, I'm going to set the title as well. So I'm going to set here the layout in the title. Title in the home page, I'm going to call this home page. Okay, so we should be settled with our index here. Now, just to put something else in our index, I'm just going to copy a little piece of HTML from what I put together. It's just a little message there. That's it. I mean, nothing too fancy here. I'm just adding a quick title, a list here. Again, not much. Okay, so we have our index. Let's have a quick look here, back. So we covered now our layout file. We covered our CSS. We can add a styling to that a little bit later. Let's see here. What else? Create a repository, create a patient list. Okay, so let's take care of that. Let's create our list. Okay? Actually, that's you can either create your list first or create your form first, whichever you find it. To be quite honest, the list without the form becomes a bit useless. So maybe we start with the form then. So let's take care of the form here. Okay? Where should I start to take care of our form? Where should I start from? What would be the next step to get our link to the form together? What would be it? I can add a new something here in our controller. I could add what in our controller? A new action. Let me just see if there's a question here. If we use interface or repository, can we use static methods? If you go the route of using the iPatient repository strategy, don't go with a static class. Go full blown. Go add transients. Remember because again, if you use an interface, you're gonna have to say in your startup that every time you want an iPatient repository, you get that concrete repository. So again, if you go the iPatient repository route, go all the way. Go all the way using dependency injection, using all the things that we have been discussing over and over again. So either go very simple or go all the way. But don't do anything in between because, again, you will neither be there nor here. So either go very simple or go all the way. Okay? That's my recommendation. if you are able to put iRepository, if you are able to use iRepository, iPatient repository, yeah, you can use a static maybe, but again, either go simple or go big. Go simple or go home. Or, sorry, go simple, yeah, or go big. Don't be in between. I won't help you in between. I'll keep it simple or go all the way. Okay? Okay, so let's take care of our form there. So we're going to create a new action here. Public. This will be a view results, and we're going to call this, I think that we're calling register, isn't it? Register. So we're going to call this register, and this will return sorry. Okay, so we have to put together our register. Okay, let's see, layout. Yeah, register. So I'll put together a new view to be able to handle our form. So I'm going to go to add view, add new item. I'd rather go there. Razor view. I'm going to call this register. And we're going to put together our form here. Now, here's the thing. This case, our form, it will have a model, correct? What is the model? Patient. Okay, so I'm going to go at model patient. Now, why is that it's not recognizing patient there? What am I missing here? I'm missing the entire path to that. But I can, instead of putting the entire path here, I could put that somewhere else. In the view imports, exactly. So I'm going to say, here I'm going to say, at using, and I can say, in our case here, patients dot models. With that, we should be okay now with our model. Okay? So again, we went to view imports and put at the top the directive at using. And just added that. Okay, so we have our model. I'm going to go with a basic form here. So I'll take a form tag. Now, what should I specify here in our form tag? Sp action. So our action, we're going to have an action for register, which this is the get, and we're going to have a post as well. So we're going to use register. Methods is a post. And inside of here, I'll put together the form. I'll just use the inputs, and I'm just going to get some assistance here. Okay, in my case, I decided to use a layout, a table layout. Again, you can use just whatever you feel. You can use divs. You can use whatever you want here. Again, I just chose to use a table format. So I'm just going to get this initial part and start putting the rest together. So I'm just going to close it here, and I'm going to put field by field here. So we have each field, patient name, and then we have an input using the tag helper, ASP-4, and I set the name. How does it know that name is a property? Well, because of the model that we set up. If I say name1, it doesn't recognize because again, patient does not have a property called name1. Now I'm gonna repeat this to all the text boxes. Any questions here about this initial setup, the action, the post methods? Because again, from here, I'm just gonna do the same thing for the other properties. When we get to checkbox, I'll stop there and I will further explain that. But again, any questions here? Okay. Okay, so again, I'm gonna have how many? Three more properties here. Again, I'm just using a simple table here for patient name, age, and again, age I have another input, address I have another input, linking to address, occupation I have yet another input. Okay? Nothing too fancy here. Okay? Now, some of you have asked how to use the checkbox, how to link properly the checkbox. Well, checkbox is nothing more, nothing else than a special type of input. That has a type of checkbox. That's it. Very simple one here. See, input type checkbox. This is what will give you the little box there. ASP4, it's linked to the property, has insurance. And that's it. This will do the magic of give me a yes, a true if it's checked, a false if it's not checked. Okay? And I do the same thing with the head previous operation. Okay, so again, two checkboxes linking to the appropriate properties, okay? And in front of it, I just have the message, and you're gonna have the checkbox in the interface, okay? Questions?
Can I go back to view imports?
To view imports, yes. So at using to point to make available any classes under models, and then you use the add tag helper to add the tag helpers. Okay. Okay, in the last one, we're gonna have a drop down. So our drop down is also quite simple. We're gonna use the select control, HTML control, and we link it to the marital status, which is the property. And for each one, we have a number associated with that particular marital status. I'm just setting the first one as empty and say please select. I'm not asking for validation here, so I think that someone in the questions asks, do I need to add validation? No, that's okay. No need to worry about that. That's fine. But I'm adding an option here that's empty. Okay. Again, not mandatory. I decided to add it like this. Okay, how about we give this a try at least once? We have not run yet our code at all. Let's give this a try and see if we have not missed anything, at least not so far. Okay, well, I have a big logo there. we did miss something here. Let's make this logo a little bit more reasonable. Well, that could be a good chance for us to use our CSS. So I'm going to say class equals to logo, and then I can put a little CSS there that says dot logo. I can say width 300 pixels, and we should have this more reasonable. Nope. What am I missing? Am I missing anything? Did we miss anything in the startup? Static files. Styles. Let's see. Come on, help me out here. Okay, let me just, maybe it's not, okay, so here's what I have, is what is, oh, it was about refreshing. Well, yeah, sometimes stuff gets cached and doesn't get refreshed automatically. So be mindful about that. I'll just reduce this a little bit further. I'm gonna put a float here. Float left. Yeah, that's okay. Now let's make this smaller. Doesn't matter. Okay, so we have our, let's see if we register, okay, so we have our form here. Missing something in our form. What is it that we're missing? Submit, but something else here. I mean, remember, it has to have the same elements across. So we are missing what? The layout. We are missing the layout.
Can you use start?
To do what? To do view start is for sharing code. So a good thing to potentially put there would be just the layout. Yeah, you can use view start there. You could. If I put this here and I say new patient, we should have now a full navigation. Again, may not look that great, but we have the right elements in place. So we can go back to home, register a new patient, and now we need to put together our list as well. But before that, let's finish our form here. Actually, you know what? 5 minutes, and we're back, or go straight? Up to you. Straight? Okay, because I just want to make sure that we cover this completely. So, and I'm okay with my voice for now. Okay, so we need a submit. Okay, let's add a submit button here. So in our form, we have a cancel, we have a save and cancel. So I'm just gonna add a line here just to give a little bit. And we're gonna have a submit button. So a button. Now someone asked the question, again, I don't know if it was in this section, how do I put an action to a submit? Think about this as I write this. How do I put an action to a submit button? So this is a type. Type is submit. And then I'm going to say save. And then our cancel. We're going to use in our cancel here. Just going to use an A. Cancel is just to go back. Let's go back to the home page. So let's go ASP action equals to index and controller ASP dash controller equals to home. Okay, so that will be our cancel here. Now we have our save button. Now, again, someone asked me, how do I put the action to the save, to the button? What's the answer to that? Without JavaScript.
Can you apply the link to this string?
Submit here?
No, I mean like, can you put save?
As a link? As a link?
No?
We should not. We don't. So we don't make it link explicitly to an action because this is a submit. Submit means that it will submit to whatever is specified here in the form. So we don't need that. We don't need to set an action there. The action will be this action here. Okay? When you use a submit submits the form that it is inside of it. Okay? So this is the action of the submit. Okay? And I can also add the controller here, sp-controller, just to make things very, very clear. We are submitting to this action in this controller. So, okay? So again, we don't need to specify in the tag of the button submit where to submit to. It will submit to whatever is specified here in the form tag. Okay? Then what? What's next? I had the whispers to add. So let's add the patient. So again, next step. What is the natural next step here? Let's go back to the controller. And now what? We have to create our register version to be able to save the patient. Okay? So I'm going to create a new public. Well, let's start with the annotation here. So we have to say that, okay, this register here is our get, but we have to define our post as well. So we're going to create another one. We're going to define our HTTP post here. I'm going to return something slightly different here. Let me see if I can return a view result. No, actually, it will go to the thank you, isn't it? So actually, that's fine. Let's use just a view result here. Let's call this result a register. Sorry, register. And then this register will have a parameter here. What is the parameter that the post will patient? Because again, we are using model binding, so this form will give me back a new patient, okay? So I'm going to say patient, and then I'm going to say, how do I save this? Okay, let's see what this is complaining about. What is this?
You need to say using models.
Oh, yes, of course. Okay. Some models, okay, great. And, okay, of course, this is, we need a return here, that's fine. So we have to do what with this patient? To add to the repository, to the list, okay? So because we have created a static repository, we don't need to initialize, to instantiate that repository. You can just say repository dot add, and I can say patients. Okay, so I've added the patients, I've saved the patients, that's it. Now what? Well, let's go back here to the exercise. And it says, see, after registering the patient, display a thank you view stating patient has been successfully registered as so-and-so on this date. So we're going to be moving to another view. So let's create that view. Let's call it, let's say, thank you. So I'm going to go to Views, Home, right-click, Add, New Item, New Razor View. I'm going to call this Thank You. Okay. Okay, so we're going to be returning to this view. So we're going to say return view. Now, we need to say the name of the view. So it's a thank you view. Sorry, thank you. Now, here's the thing. In the thank you view, I need to display a message that says the name of the patient, the occupation of the patient. So I need to send to this view. What is it that I need to send to this view? The patient. So I need to add the model when I call thank you. I need to say thank you, patients, because patient is the one that has all the information about the patient, okay? Now, we go to our thank you. Just going to get rid of this, and we're going to just reuse a few things here. I'm going to call this the title, thank you. And let's keep the layout as the same one. Now, we need to add a model to our thank you. So model will be patient. And we're going to display that message. That's it. We're going to need the name, the occupation, and the date. So we're going to be using @model dot name, @model dot occupation, and @model dot registration dates. Now, let's put some word in there so it's not that dry. So I'm just saying, inside the H1 tag, again, let's make this a little bit smaller here, H3. I'm just going to say, name so-and-so has been successfully registered as, I don't know, instructor on this date. That's it. So we have our form is submitting, it's adding to the list, it's showing the thank you. Let's give it a try. Anyone stuck on anything here so far? Let's try this out. Okay, so home, register patients, okay. So let's say John Smith here, 23, 12 Main Street, occupation instructor, and let's say has insurance, had operation, married, save here. Okay, now we have the thank you. See, thank you. John Smith has been successfully registered as instructor on date so-and-so. Just fix this HTML a little bit here. Oh, because it's inside an H3. That's fine. That's all good. Okay? Now, what's next? What are we missing? The list. That's the only step that we're missing here. Okay? So list of patients. We don't have anything there yet. Okay, so let's start with the action. Okay? Well, let's call it list, our action. So I'm going to say public view results. Let's call it list. And we're going to return a view. Now, what is it that we need to give to our view? We need to give the list, the full list of patients, okay? So we're just going to say repository dot patients. Now let's create our list view, okay? So we go back to our home folder under views, right click, add, new item. Then you're going to create a new razor view. I'm going to call this list. I'm going to get rid of whatever is there. What's our model here? So we need to link to what? To the list here. So let's use the IEnumerable. Sorry. And then this is an IEnumerable of patients. And now we're going to loop through. We're going to loop through each patient and display them. So we're going to say, well, if we put this inside a table, we have a heading for our table. So let's, actually before that, let's do already the common parts of it. Let's do this code block there. This is a list, the title list of patients. The layout will be underscore layouts, and then we're going to use a table. The first TR, the first line of the table will be the headers showing the title of each property. And then we're going to have, just going to get here the list. So again, a very simple header. So we have each property here listed, and then we're gonna do a for each. For each what?
Patient.
I can do a patient here for each patient P in model. Then I'll do a loop here. And we're gonna have TR, so each line, and then TDs for each property. Okay, so we're gonna have P dot name, sorry, at P dot name, and we do that for each property. So let's see here. So age, and then address, and then occupation, and then for now I'm just going to say has insurance. We can address this a little bit better. Had previous operation, marital status, and the date. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the extra ones. And then we're going to, oh, that's fine. That's okay. So we are closing the table already. Great, let's give this a try and see how it's working. Okay, so list of patients, we have that. Let's register a new one. Let's mark both of them. Let's put here. Let's have a look at our list. So we have a simple list. Let's fix two things here. Actually, three things. Let's address them a little bit better. Let's, under has insurance, let's use yes or no. Had previous operation, yes or no as well. And under marital status, instead of number, let's show the actual text, okay? So we're gonna do a little bit of work here on our view. So I'm gonna use a very simple test. I can say, how can I do this very simple, in a very simple way? If, but let's not use if, let's use one single line. There is something simpler. Question mark, and then can be what here? Yes, it's already true and false, so let's make it yes and no. Okay? Now, remember to do this inside parentheses, okay? Because otherwise, it won't work. You can do the same with had previous operation. Question mark, yes, and then return no if it's false. Remember that this is a Boolean, so it already returns true and false. If I just refresh the field, now we have yes, okay? Last one is marital status that we're going to be using a switch statement, okay? So we're going to just expand this a little bit, give it a little bit more space. Let's just say add switch. Then we're going to open curly braces. We can say case 1. Then I can just say, I can print this out, I can say married. So again, case 1, married. So remember that at column means that whatever comes after that is text, not codes, okay? And then we have to use break. Again, very similar to a regular switch statement that you have on C#. And we could have also put a default here. And we could say not set. There's a problem here. Yeah. Okay, so again, just use a switch statement. Very simple switch. If I refresh now over there, now we have the the name instead of the ID. I can register a new one here. And let's say divorced. If we go to list patients, we have both, and we have the correct names here. Okay. Let's see if we cover all the points there. So create a repository, create patient list. Yes, the list must display the list of patients in alphabetical order. We missed that one, in alphabetic order. Okay. So make sure that you keep checking the list of things that are required. So how do I do that? We should go back to our controller, and what should we do here? So we can use the method order by, and I'll just break this down a little bit here. I can say P, where P what? Dot name. So this will order the list of patients by name. Okay. Okay, why not make my directory start as a string instead of an int? As I said, you can make it as a string, you can make it as an integer, you can make it as an enumeration. That's all good. That's all fine. I'd say in a real system, in a more complex application, it could be an integer or it could be an enumeration. Enumeration is actually the better option here. Okay, that way you could avoid creating a switch. Well, I know you can if it's a string, but again, you can have three solutions here. You can have a string, an integer, enumeration. The string is really the simplest solution, but it's a bit, you won't see that happening in real life. Let's put it this way, okay? Out there in the industry, something like fields that have a discrete set of options, they will be mapped to integers, they will be mapped to enumerations. They won't be strings because, again, it's not a very effective way to store information that is discrete. It's better to store as an integer. One, marital status. One, married. Two, single. It's more, from a performance standpoint, from a storage standpoint, it makes more sense, okay? So again, you could, for the sake of this example, this exercise, but out there, you're gonna be looking at using an enumeration or a number, an integer. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else. So we must display in order of patient's name, that's fine. Create a controller, actions to support the functionality of each page in general site navigation, we did that. Create a CSS file to style your views, we did that. Handle all navigation and style and reference in a layout file, we did that. Implement best practices and accepted conventions and standards in your code. Well, include only the files and elements necessary, we did that. Again, make sure that you don't use a template ready-made, so it doesn't have excessive files there. Place files in the appropriate folders, we did that. Use consistent and logical naming conventions for classes and variables. I think we did that. Be consistent in the application of CSS. Well, we didn't use much CSS, but that's fine. We're not going to be, I would say, assessed in terms of your use of CSS that much. Okay, if you wanted to add Bootstrap, you could go for that as well. Let's see here. Could I use the view start to set the layout? Yes, you could. You could use the view start. That's fine. Again, you can use _view start to add common code, and the layout has been common, so yes, you could have used that. If you would be inclined to use Bootstrap, you would have to go to your project and then manage client-side libraries. It would create the libmin file for you. You can add Bootstrap here. You can say library. Then this is Twitter Bootstrap. Destination folder would be www.root, and then lib, and then Bootstrap. If you save this, it will get downloaded, and then you can just call it inside your layout. So in your layout, you could say link, hell style sheet, href would be CSS. Sorry, not CSS. Would be lib, Bootstrap. Then again, if you use Bootstrap, make sure that you add the correct CSS. They have quite a few. Add the minified version, okay? And also get rid of the tilde at the beginning. So this should give us a little bit of a better layout. You could go fancy. There are things that you could do in the list. For example, you can say that your table, the class of your table, the reason why I remember that is because it's quite simple. It's called table, the class. That makes it a little bit better looking. So you're going to see that it will look slightly better, the table. So as you can see, it already picks up a few of the styles. You see the table is a little bit better. Okay. Then, so, questions? Yes. Two? Padlet? Oh, yes. Okay.
I did the order by for it in a view instead of the controller.
Oh.
Where it's better.
Okay, so here's the thing. View should be very simple. View should really just be about how to display information. It should not be about this type of option like sorting. Make it part of the controller. Make the controller a little bit smarter. Make the view as dumb as possible. Okay. So even though it works, and I would say take points out of that because you did like that. But again, view should be as simple as possible. It should only be about displaying, for instance, in this case, not how it will be sorted. So I would move that to the controller, okay? Make sense? Okay, so I need to take attendance. If you want to think a little bit more about what we have discussed, come up with a few more questions. What I'll do is after the attendance, I will open the questions that you have submitted. I'm going to walk through them and see if I can assist on some of them, okay? Give me 1 minute. Yes. What is that? I'll be there in a second. Let me just take the attendance first. Okay, so Andre, Amal, Avjit, Arika, yep, Chu Young Young, Curtis, yep, Danish, I got it. Yeah, Danish, Diego, yes, Ederson, EJ, Grace, Harbin, Hassan, Jared, Josh, Joyce, Ken, Crisel, Manal, Muhammad Ali, Shibli, Mother, Natalia, Richard, Roxion Yo, Saida, Shaniqua, Vadim, Vandana, Vladislav. If I did not call your name, let me know. Okay, so you had a question here or there? Okay.
I'm getting this issue when they update 20 Visual Studio to like the latest 2019. It's like giving me this error.
So this is 2019?
Yeah, the latest version.
Endpoint does not support.
I have no idea where I'm getting this.
They stop there. Let's go to properties of the project properties here. Yeah. See, you're using .NET Core 3.
Oh, 3.1. Yeah,
Yeah,
is updated?
that might be it. Okay, give it a try.
So I have all these T's to checkbox track.
Yep.
But when I go to list of patients, it's always
Okay, so let's see the name. Let's have a look at the view.
which view.
The view of the form view.
Checkbox. These two.
You are adding to the label. Look at that. You didn't add to the inputs.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I have this problem and I really don't know what to do with this. I mean,
Okay,
I
show me your recipe class.
tried.
So show me your recipe class.
So I have here ID that is a primary key.
Okay, so here's the thing. How does it know that it's primary key? How does the application know? It doesn't.
I don't know, but it somehow knows because when I open the table, it shows that ID is the primary key.
Okay, I'll try to do it in a slightly different way. You want the simple way or the hard way?
Well,
Let's do the simple way.
if I need to like remove the database, that is an easy way, and I don't want it.
Well, we're gonna use an integer instead of that GUI thing that you are using there. So you are already saving the database, correct? This, you're trying to use the database already, correct?
Yeah, like I have the seed data. I follow like every single step that was in this course.
So, two things that you can do. First is that don't use this get new ID. Get rid of that.
But it works for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do one thing at a time. How about you do that? So now, here's the thing. You need it to be public. Oh, so you have an ID. So, oh, I see what you're trying to do here.
Yeah, I have the public property that here it like generates the ID like every single time.
You are overthinking this. You are overthinking this. If you just create a property called ID, go back to that. If you just call this ID and keep it as a regular field with a get and set, just get rid of the other stuff. Just make it a very simple one. Okay. So make this actually hit the enter right here at the end of the give it another extra line here between.
Here?
Yeah. Actually, in the previous line, go to the very end and hit enter there. Yeah. By calling it ID, most likely Visual Entity Framework will already figure out that this is an ID and it will create an auto increment ID. But to make sure that it knows that, put the keyword key. So open square, yes, make it key, call it key.
Just like this?
Just like this, yeah. If it's complaining, keep outside, click outside, right click. It's just because it needs to add, and data annotation, correct. So with that, I would regenerate and by the way, just as a reference, you may want to keep the ID as the most, because this is the most important field theoretically. Keep it as the first property of your list here. Not a problem if you don't, but again, just a best practice there. So with that, you're gonna get an ID, create in database, set as primary key, and it will be automatically incremental one by one.
Okay, how to set it as a primary key? Because it was...
You just did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So,
Now you have to regenerate. You have to
regenerate the database, so
you have to use the migration scripts again. So one is run the before you run the migration scripts, you have to recreate the migration scripts. You have to say.
So I have to delete the folder. And
You don't need to delete. You can actually create an incremental. You can delete. Let's make it simple. Delete the whole thing, including the database that is already there, in your migration scripts folder. Because then when you run again, it will take effect what you have just modified. Okay?
So I just need to delete the migrations here to create it again, and then when I run it, it should work.
But you have to delete the database as well. Okay? Delete both, the migration folder and the database.
Okay, so I just delete like this?
Yes, that's it. And make sure that you close the connection. Then delete the folder, regenerate it. Okay? No problem. Okay, so let's have a look here. Let's see. How do you use a partial view for the view that has form on it? You just copy the entire thing. And I'm assuming that this is for assignment 2. Okay? So what you do, let's see, register. just copy the form here, copy that, put it inside the partial view, and call the partial view from here. That's it. Now, that's about it. Using a partial view is just about, again, copying the HTML that you want to use, put it inside the partial view, and call the partial view from here. Now, this is one of the points of assignment 2, okay? So, unless I would show you the code of assignment 2, otherwise, what's the point of assignment 2? Okay, so again, is there a specific question about this question here, aside from saying that, actually, let me open. Let me see here, partial view. Yeah, I mean, aside from doing it, it's just about removing it from here and moving this to a partial view and calling it here. That's just about that. If you have asked the question, are stuck, show me your code and then I can see what's going on there. You know? Switch statement here in the list. Okay. Again, if you are the one that had this question and you are stuck there, let me know. I can have a look and I can see it closely there. Would we need to implement review system for the recipes in our next assignment? No. As I said, review, you don't need to save review. Just make sure that you put in the appropriate location there, but it does need to be functional. You don't need to be able to add a review, to save a review. And again, I'm going to say it again, assignment 2 is not about database. You don't need to store in the database. You can store just in memory, okay? So you don't need to go, if you do that, that's fine. But you don't have to. You don't have to do database parts. Assignment 3 is about converting that to database, yes, but not assignment 2. Okay. Start. Okay, so here's what we have. We have 15 minutes. I'm just going to open a few of the questions that have been submitted, and I will have a look and see if we can have a discussion about them, okay? Okay, so I think that first one there has been addressed, how to get the date and time. I was not able to save the style. So again, if you are having any particular problems with CSS, let me know. I can help you a bit. Do I have to make different partial views for the different views? Well, I'm going to assume that this is a question about the assignment. The assignment is only asking for one partial view, the assignment, the whole assignment. And if you want to, you can. But I'm just asking to create one. And even view component is not being asked in the assignment. Again, if you opt to create a view component, that's fine, but it's not being asked. It's just one simple partial view. Do I have to include validation for the registration form? Again, I'm assuming that this is about the assignment. Whatever validation was already there from your first assignment, that's fine. You don't have to. No, you don't have to do validation there. No, I didn't ask. Again, you only have to do things that I explicitly asked there, okay? And even this form that we have just created for the exercise, I didn't do any validation there. If you saw that, there was no validation there. Okay, let's see here. Do I need to use as queryable? Well, we did not. We have used enumerable, but we have not used as queryable at all. Okay? How to display date and time separately? Well, if you want to display date and time separately, you would have to format them. So you would have to do something like this.
So that problem I already figured out.
Yep. This one? Okay. Okay, great. So let's see here. Let's have a look at another one. How to arrange the name alphabetically. So I showed that. Okay? All good? Okay, awesome. Okay, let's go bottom to top then. Okay, is marital status of type enumerable? I've mentioned that you could do that. That's fine. Actually, that would be the best option. What does the cancel button do? It just goes back to the home page. I've showed that as well. There are two checkboxes. Variables that are referred to those checkboxes are Boolean variables or not. Yes, they are Booleans. Again, we addressed that during the conversation today. How to make the list view display patient names in alphabetical order. Mentioned that as well. Is cancel button just going to clear all fields? Well, I was really thinking of going back to the home page. That's what we did. How do we get the date and time? Again, that has been addressed. Let me see if there's anything here. Padlet, okay. Okay, 3 questions here. How to make the input box beside the text? Well, if you are talking about how to display that in HTML, again, work your way out of that because the details of HTML is beyond the scope of the course. So again, you have plenty of resources out there to figure out how to do things in HTML. Again, I want to keep just within the scope of the course. How to use different font styles or images for different pages. Again, that's CSS. You can add images as you see fit. So again, you just add that to the different views. In the midterm, do I have to work in this project or we will work in totally new? We're going to be working in a totally new project. Now, keep this project close by because you can use it as a reference point, you know. There are a lot of steps that we have to go through. So it's easy to miss some stuff. So keep it close by, keep it available to you so you can refer back and forth to it. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, can you explain? Okay, this is about shopping carts. Again, I can more than address those things here with View 101, but right now I would really like to focus on what we need to get done for the test and for the assignments. So again, I'm more than happy to look at this. If you want to follow up with me on this one, by all means, drop me an email and I will address them. But again, I don't want to mix this with what we are discussing for the test, okay? Because this seems to be all about Sports Store. Yeah, again, this is not really bonus 8. Bonus 8 is supposed to be about the bonus 8. No, this is not about bonus 8. Anyway. Okay, how to use enum with a select. Okay, so for this one, I have a link here. I'm going to share this link so you can have a look. And you are more than welcome to bring that back to class and explain to the rest of us. enum and select. Again, there are plenty of options in this link that I just provided. How to assign different IDs for each patient without hard coding them. Well, you could have in the patient repository, in the patient list, if you want, you can declare this as a, you can say public int, let's say ID. You can have a get and set here. And there are plenty of see here, random. Well, it's not very safe to use a random one here. I mean, usually when you do that, you use a database to back you up on that. You could use potentially a GUI ID here. You could do something like this. Again, that could be a way. Now, again, this ID is not an integer. If you would like to use an integer, for example, you could potentially count how many items are there in the collection already. And then if there's no items, put 1. But set it to number 1. If there is one item, set it to the count plus 1. That could be another way. But again, this is better handled via the database. Once you make this ID as a primary key and as an integer, you can make the ID increment automatically via the database, and the database will take care of that for you. You don't need to worry about that. But I mean, this could be one way. Again, it's not using an integer, but it's using a GUI ID. Okay, let's see here. How to use order by in MVC. Well, we just did that. Order by, we had that in our controller. So we just did that here. I hope that this is clear. Let's check one last one here, and we'll call the quits. How to create a checkbox? I use drop-down. Okay, checkbox, we have seen it. Okay. How to display the list alphabetically in alphabetical order? We did that as well. SP4, SP action, color not changing, need to check. Well, I'm not sure what that is, but again, the color will change only. Oh, this might be about the use of. This is for sure, the use of the tag helper. Make sure that you add the tag helper in your view imports. Make sure that this is spelled out correctly. Okay? Again, if you have any questions from now to Friday, let me know. I'll still be around here 5 minutes. But again, let me know via email if anything. I'll go there and I'll go there. Okay? That's great. Have a good one. See you Friday. Again, let me know if you need anything else.